So in January 2021, I officially moved from being a full-time freelancer to a full-time small business owner / entrepreneur. And that was a huge deal for me because for the past 4 to 5 years, I spent basically all my time supporting other people in building their dreams. And suddenly I was building mine. And I honestly thought it was gonna be all rainbows and butterflies, and I could not have been more wrong. I think partially because there is a tendency to romanticize starting a business and entrepreneurship as like, oh, you're gonna be working on like the beach and your laptop's gonna be there and you're gonna be traveling all the time and you're gonna be making like lots of cash money right away and you're gonna feel super confident and cool the whole time this is happening. And I truly wish more people had been honest with me about what it's really like to start your business and become an entrepreneur. So that's what I'm hoping to do in today's video, is telling you about some of the more tricky things so that you're way better prepared for them than I ever was. But before we dive in, I obviously want to say that I am super grateful for my business. I am so glad I started my business every day. Like, I never would have thought I could be where I am today, ever. I'm amazed by all of it, and the pros definitely outweigh the cons, even the surprise, unexpected cons, which is what we're going to be chatting about today. So this video is not meant to discourage you, it's meant to prepare you. Hey, my name is Dea, freelancer, digital business manager, and most recently, entrepreneur. And as always, you can find sections on the play bar below if you want to skip to a certain part of the video because your time is precious, so take whatever it is that you need. Okay, let's dive into the video. Here are the 10 things I wish somebody had warned me about before I started my business. The first one is how much next level, unbelievable mindset work you have to do when you have your own business. And I've always tried to like work on my mindset off and on, you know, because good mindset tends to be good for most things in life. But as you start your own business, like the level of mindset stuff that rolls out of the closet is crazy. Stuff I didn't even realize I was worried about, that I was uncomfortable about, that I was nervous about, came like strolling out, and they all took a seat around the table and they all wanted to have a say in every single tiny thing that would happen in my business, which was not fun. And I want to call this mindset work because it's really work. It's not really something that you can passively do in the background, you know, like have it on autopilot or anything. It's really something you have to actively keep track of and actually work on. So some examples of things that I've had to work on: perfectionism. This is a really killer one. It will kill productivity. It will kill like the chance to try something before you've even like started. This one has cost me a lot, and it could have almost cost me my entire business as well. Even like with this YouTube channel, I just filmed a YouTube video where the sun kept going in and out, and that stressed me out so much because I was like, the lighting's not perfect, I'm gonna have to like scrap it, delete it, and like refilm it. And I'm just at a point where like I can't let that keep me from publishing things that I should be publishing into the world, basically. Another big one for me is like fear of failure. That one is like, I'm petrified of failing publicly for some reason. It probably has to do with like growing up in Asia, and like one of the worst things ever is like 丢脸, which is when you lose face for something publicly, right? This fear has made me procrastinate starting a YouTube channel, private podcast, launching a course, doing a JV, starting my business overall, launching a mastermind, aka every single big important thing I've done in my business. And yeah, and that's really hard. And if you have like a bit of control issues, which is like, then you're gonna also have to work on that, because in a business, you're gonna want to control everything, but you honestly can't. And in order to scale, you have to trust and let go of certain things so that you can actually grow in a way that's sustainable and you don't burn yourself out. So solutions that have worked well for me in terms of like working on my mindset. The first one is getting a mindset coach that is qualified to talk about what they're talking about, and somebody who will actually ask you the right questions to help you reframe, shift your perspective, give you like actionable things to rebuild habits and everything. That has been very helpful for me. I've also been reading a lot of books. The one I'm reading right now is called The Mountain Is You by Brianna Wiest, and it's very good. This lighting is driving me nuts. This book has been so good for me to just reevaluate how I sabotage myself in my business. So that's a good recommendation I can give you. And of course, actually taking the time to understand where these emotions and feelings and issues are, how they pop up, what the triggers are, and talking yourself through them with compassion instead of trying to like rush through and push through everything that's uncomfortable coming up. So yeah, those are some of the ways that I've been working on my mindset. The second thing is loneliness. So when you run your own business, especially if you don't have a team yet, it's kind of like working in a vacuum chamber. It's like there's nobody to bounce ideas off of, which don't get me wrong, people will try to give you their opinions, but nobody tends to get your business, to love your business, to want to protect your business as much as you do. So sometimes it feels like you're kind of in it on your own. So the biggest solutions I found here is to join communities with like-minded business owners. If you're an e-commerce business owner, like go find one where other people have e-commerce businesses, find a mastermind, you can get an accountability buddy, you can find yourself a business bestie, which I have and I'm obsessed with. Like, she grounds me every single week when we talk. And if you can't find a business bestie, you can subscribe to my podcast, Dear Biz Bestie, and I'll be your biz bestie. That's the point of the podcast. I'll leave a link below if you want to do that. The next thing is decision fatigue. I did not realize how many decisions you have to make as a business owner every day, and having to decide what to do every single day sucks. And I think it sucks harder because when you decide things, you're not 100% sure if the answer is correct. So you're like doing a bunch of stuff where you're not sure if it's the right decision. So like, for example, this YouTube channel, I don't know if it's the right decision for my business. I don't know if it's going to grow. I don't know if it's going to generate an ROI, but I'm spending like 5 to 10 hours a week now scripting, like filming, I'm paying a video editor, I'm paying my marketing assistant to help and all this stuff. It's kind of just like seeing and hoping it works. Obviously, we've done our research, but research can only go so far. So it's like every single day I have to make all these decisions on what I'm spending my time and money on, and I'm never really sure if it's correct. Plus, if you have team members, they're going to come to you with lots of decisions that they want you to make as well. So something to think about. But the solution here that I found that works really well is, as much as you can, try to outsource the decisions that you don't have to make. Give ownership to your team members. You don't have to micromanage every single thing in your business. That's not good for the business. It's not good for your team. It's not good for growth. Allow others that you trust to make the decisions that you're comfortable with and give them guidelines. Another thing is something that I've recently started doing, which is making a plan for a week or a month up front instead of deciding on a day-to-day basis what I'm going to be working on that day, because that is a nightmare. Like every day waking up and being like, great, what am I going to work on today, right? So make a plan so that you don't have to decide so often, essentially. And this is another tip that I realized early on is like, sometimes I find that people have a hard time deciding because there's so many options, and there's so many options because they're asking everybody for their opinion. Don't ask everyone for their opinions when it comes to your business. Ask like 1 or 2 trusted people, because if you have so many different people giving you their advice and their opinions, it's going to feel like information overwhelm and you're not going to be able to make good decisions. And it's oftentimes just better to put like your blinders on and just focus on your own path instead of trying to like see what everybody else is doing and compare, because that makes decision fatigue a million times worse. The fourth is that there is this sense of like greater responsibility, especially if you start hiring people. Like, none of my people are full-time or anything, so I'm not like fully in charge of their income or anything, but there is this level of like, my team depends on this business to make money so that I can pay them, right? So that sometimes is a little bit harder to make peace with. But the main solution that I've had is like, keep savings in the business, like build in protection where you can, and try to limit the risks that your business is taking on so that you have like a more robust business. But 2, also very importantly, release the pressure of being responsible. Like, you can only do your best at the end of the day, right? Like, you can't control everything that will happen in your business, in the environment, and that's okay. Like, it's not your job to make sure that this business, makes X amount of money forever. Like, all you can do is do your role as the business owner and provide your team with what they need, and provide your customers and students and clients with what they're there for. So the rest, release. Feeling like you have to maintain everything is also kind of exhausting. Like, I feel like everybody's like, oh, get to 6 figures, get to 7 figures. And you're like, the whole time you're like hyping yourself up to get to like these cool number milestones. And then once you get there, nobody really tells you like there is that pressure and like having to maintain it now. Like when I hit 6 figures, I was really proud of myself for like 1 millisecond. And then I was like, now I have to do this again and again and again. And I have to do this forever. Like, everything I did, I have to do again. And here it's very important. Again, it's one of those control things. Like, you have to release the control. Like, you can only do your best. Continue to grow, develop, learn, invest in mentorship, invest in your team, invest in coaching and training so you can continue to scale, but know that you can't control every element in your business, and that's okay. And one great tip that one of my mentors, Julie, gave me was, don't think of your business as the X factor. You are the X factor. And if some like horrible, unfortunate circumstance, your business goes under or something, that's okay. Like, you're the X factor. You're going to start something else, something new. And at the end of the day, it's not like the idea that makes a business good, it's the execution. So you can always just apply that execution to another business as well. So don't feel like everything rides on maintaining this business as it is, or continue to grow and grow and grow. 6, you have to take care of you. Nobody is going to implement boundaries. Nobody is going to keep track of how much you're working, what you're doing. So you have to keep track of it. Especially in I feel like traditional offices or even remote full-time jobs, there are still some sort of boundaries that the business or the company gives you. They're like, you work these hours, here are your sick days, here are your vacation days, you have to take them. You don't work weekends, that kind of stuff. When you're a small business owner, that's all you have to do that. You have to write the employee manual. You have to put those boundaries in place. So it's very important that you actually take the time to do that. So I invite you to journal what your ideal work life looks like to you, and then break that down into which boundaries do I need to put in place for this to actually work. Write those boundaries down, and most importantly, enforce them. Okay, so for example, one boundary I put up is I don't want to take calls on Fridays anymore, because on Fridays I just want to wind down, and if I have too many calls, I can't really wind down properly. I'm on edge essentially the whole time until the call happens. So I just don't take calls on Friday anymore. And if somebody's like, hey Dea, do you have time on Friday? I want to chat. I'm like, I don't take calls on Friday. What about Thursday? Or what about Wednesday? So it's very important that you don't just be like, I don't take calls on Friday. And then somebody's like, do you want to do a call on Friday? And you're like, okay. Now the light is completely gone. The 7th thing is showing up when you have literally negative 39 interest to do so. So sometimes you just have to do things that you don't particularly want to do. And I feel like that's not exclusive to having a business though. I feel like that's really with any job, there's just a percentage of things you just don't want to do sometimes, and you have to do them anyway. Now the thing here that I want to say is, if you are genuinely tired, burnt out, you hate it, you are super upset, you physically cannot get yourself to do something, then actually give yourself that break, take time off, recharge, don't force your way through it, because it's just going to be counterproductive at the end of the day. But if it's just one of those tasks where you're kind of I know I have to do it, I know I can do it, I'm just not doing it right now, then my best tip is I always just do 15 minutes of it. Sometimes I find when the task is big or the project is big, it's too overwhelming. That makes it I'm making it into this huge mountain when it's really not that big of a deal. So I just commit to 15 minutes. I make the first step very, very small, very, very tiny, and I just commit to doing 15 minutes. Commit to beginning the task. You don't have to finish it. And think about how good it will feel once you actually finish the task. And if it is a repetitive task that happens a lot in your business and you really hate it, then you might want to consider outsourcing it, delegating it. It will probably be better for your mental energy long term if you just let that task go and you let somebody else whose zone of genius is that task to do it. 8, you have to be so patient, which is very hard when you are working on your business every day and it feels like things are crawling at a snail's pace. I'm also relatively impatient. If I'm doing everything what I think is right now, then I'm why aren't the results happening right now? I'm doing everything that I possibly can. I'm giving my best go. Why is it not happening right now? And I think it comes from this, people seeing overnight successes. So if we don't see success right away, we think something is wrong. We're doing something wrong. We're on the wrong path. It's a sign that we shouldn't continue. But the truth is that things just take time to happen. The compound effect is a real thing. You have to give yourself a fair chance to try something before you give up. Even with this YouTube channel, I'm I'm doing my absolute best, or what I think is my best. And the results are still not quite where I want them to be yet. And that feels exhausting. And it's of course they're not where they're supposed to be yet. I just started publishing videos last week, of course they're not. So, give yourself the time to enjoy where you're currently at. Don't feel like you're rushing from goal to goal, because if you rush from goal to goal, then you're also not enjoying the stage that you're currently at in your business. And starting a business is a very exciting stage to be in, because everything's fresh and it's the honeymoon period. So give yourself time to enjoy those places and be patient and zoom out. Like, don't just like, from yesterday to today, nothing major happened. Like, zoom out and compare yourself to 6 months ago or 12 months ago and see how far you've actually come. 9. This is an important tip for those of you that are a little bit more emotionally sensitive, like I am, which is, when you are a small business owner, there will be a feelings roller coaster that you can ride every single day. And sometimes you ride it 16 times a day, and it goes up and it goes down, and you're excited and you hate your business and you love it. And right now I hate the sun. So you'll just like ride it up and down, and it can be absolutely destroying. It can be the most draining thing ever. So my best advice is don't ride the roller coaster. Just watch it, right? Watch it go past and trust that the negative will pass, the positive will pass, and that's just part of the journey. But don't strap yourself onto that roller coaster, because it is really mentally draining to ride that roller coaster. So really just like watch it pass. Right now I don't feel motivated. That's okay. Right now I feel a bit sad. Right now I don't really believe in myself or my business. That's okay. Just let that feeling go through you. You are not your feelings. Feelings come and go. They're temporary. And trust that at every single dip you've ever taken, you've always come back up. So why would this dip be any different? All right, the last one is, and this is for people pleasers out there who need everybody to like them for some reason. You can't care what people think, or you will drown. It is unrealistic to believe that every single person who interacts with you is going to like you. You are not for everybody, and that's okay. And that's a good thing, because those people that you are for are going to love your product, are going to love you, are going to love your business. And that is much better than having everybody be indifferent to you. So do not take things personally. Most of the time, if people send you hate, or they're unhappy, or they make some comment that's really not factual, it's just kind of like a mean thing to say, it's more of a reflection on them. So you cannot take it personally. Really separate your business persona and your business away from your personal self-worth. And who you are. And if you start caring about what every single person in the world has to say about your business, your family, your relatives, your friends, random strangers on the internet will just like comment on your ads, like the most random stuff. They'll send you random emails in response to your emails. You will drown. So do not care about what they have to say. Go to the people that you trust, go to the 1 or 2 people that you trust and ask them for their opinion, and that's it. Let the rest of it go. All right, here's my final bonus tip, which is the most important one that I wish somebody would have told me. You will never feel ready to do anything when it comes to your business. You will never feel 100% ready to launch a product, to start an email list, to create a podcast, to start a YouTube channel, to start selling your product, to start telling people about your product. You will never feel 100% ready, so just do it. You will never feel ready to do something you've never done before, right? Like, it's one thing to like learn about how to play basketball theoretically, but it's a whole other thing to actually shoot the ball, right? So actually shoot your shot, get out there and shoot the ball. And after you shoot the ball 50, 100, 200 times, that's when you will feel ready. I did not feel ready to start this YouTube channel. I did not feel ready to launch my course. I did not feel ready to start a private podcast. I did not feel ready to run a mastermind. Everything in my business that I have done that has brought my students success, that has brought me closer to my business goals, I have not been ready to do, and I did it, and then eventually I felt ready to do it. Okay, so just get started. Get started before you feel ready, because that is the biggest scam of all, that you will magically feel ready one day to do something. All right, that's it for this video. I hope some of these warnings will prepare you better for your journey. If there are any that I missed, feel free to comment them below. I'm sure I will relate to it, whatever it is. All right, and I'll catch you in the next video. All right, bye.